Yo.
Interesting first pick.
So
Look at those hip
Swim,
fires.
you were talking about black having really good spells.
Yes.
And I see a pair of them right there. Hip fires.
And there's Slay as well.
Yeah.
Which
So
is very good in draft.
what do we think Lifecoach is going to pick here?
Black looks very favorable. Timbersaw and Compel are both good options, but maybe like not super good. And it's a little too early to go for items, despite Reptile Signet Ring being a good card.
Yep. And for those of you who don't know, you have to pick 2 cards here. You've got 5 packs to go through.
Yep.
So this is going to be Lifecoach's first pick, and
Right.
the hip fire. Oh, okay. He's going for the
Signet Ring
Slay
and
and
Slay.
Wow, he's not giving respect to hipfire at all.
Interesting.
Yeah, we're going to have to ask him about that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
we'll have to see.
No hero pick, of course. Timbersaw, not exactly the stellar all-star.
Slay does condemn a creep, which black has a lot of trouble with. So
Yeah, sure.
yeah.
Yep. The thing about picking a hero early is because it locks you out of heroes for the rest of the pack, it's very committal. Now, he has the Bronze Legionnaire here, which he's very happy for, so it looks like he will be picking up like red as an option.
Yep.
But there's kind of no reason to lock yourself out of heroes too early on. What do we think he's going to pick after this Legionnaire?
I think the strongest card in the pack, for me personally, is Intimidation. Clear the deck's quite good if you're in red as well. And I think Relentless Pursuit is an interesting effect, but it looks like... Dude, he's wearing black red.
Yeah.
He just want to go face.
He wasn't
told the
joking.
truth.
He wasn't joking at all.
Yeah. So unsupervised artillery is generally not a card that you really go into early, but he's like saying, look, I'm going to be aggro. I'm going to be picking up creeps. I'm going to be dealing damage to your tower.
Immediately locks in that Assassin's Shadow.
Yep.
That's a Siege 5 no matter what. So
Collateral damage.
interesting. I do not value that card.
Lifecoach is
high at
taking us
all.
to school right
yeah,
now.
Yeah, this
because
is the new meta right here.
I've never seen a man pass double hit fire on pack 1, and we're watching it live.
Yep. Passing phase beats for Grazing Shot. He is going in it. Combat training here with Pick a Fight. Yeah, looks like he is committed to
Random
kind of
hero?
black
Gets
red.
Magnus.
So
Magnus
No
is a
greens?
solid hero, but he will have to pick up some green if he wants to play it.
yeah, I would say that's a miss for him.
Is he gonna? He's gonna
Bounty
get the
Hunter
bounty
is
here,
solid
right?
for what
Bounty's
he's going
great.
for.
Are you going to pick up the payday?
The payday. That's the
Yeah.
that's the big question here.
Yeah.
Bounty Hunter's associated card is Track, and that gives you 10 gold, 10 extra gold when you kill a hero that you track. So that would combo very nicely with Payday, where you get to double your
Oh.
gold. So he's
I mean,
he's
the
going
payday,
for it.
it's the greedy play. If you find some gold generation in the rest of these packs, maybe a second payday, some big top-end item, you are in it.
Yeah, as you can see when you're picking up heroes, picking up cards, the cards gets added to your card pool.
Yeah.
And then you're going to be building a 40 card deck out of those cards available. And the nice thing about picking up heroes is that it automatically gives you 3 copies of whatever the card that comes with. So like Fosh mentioned, Track is the included card for Bounty Hunter. Not exactly great for the kind of the aggressive strategy that he's going for. Track in particular is good for kind of going for longer games, making a lot of gold.
Yeah.
But
Looks
you
like
could-
he's giving some respect to green here, taking the home field advantage.
Okay. Or
Very
maybe he's thinking the other cards of his colors are not that good, so you might as well
Ooh.
pick up a...
Vermusk is a great card here on that green 3. He might elect to pick that up after the Stone Hall. There it is.
Yep.
So he's looking for a
Yes.
tricolor at this point, maybe a splash of green.
He's got a good number of creeps so far too, so that Ramusk would also help out to buff those creeps that he has in lane.
I mean, I would personally say his red isn't particularly amazing either.
Ooh.
Like, he has some good solid card. I think if he doesn't see any more good red heroes or red cards, he might just drop red altogether as well. So
Yeah. What do you think about his Incarnation pick there?
I mean, it's definitely the strongest card in that pack, right? So
Yeah.
why not?
Yeah. Looked like a bit of a heat pick. He's got 4 different colors right now, and as
Yeah.
you said, he's not necessarily committed to red. It's mostly just the Legionnaire giving him that. Lion is not an amazing hero. You are looking for a second black hero if you're Lifecoach, but you're probably passing up on the Lion in favor of some of these great green cards. I really like Roseleaf Rejuvenator,
The big tree.
and maybe Salamani's favorite here over Rebel Decoy.
Yeah.
Pretty close.
So would you guys say at the beginning of Pack 3 is where you should have a good general idea of what color your deck should be in? I feel like Lifecoach in particular with this draft, it feels a little uncertain at times. You know, I'm not even sure what color we're in. I think we're definitely in black, but
yeah,
what's our
black.
second color? I'm not
Our,
too sure.
our second color is going to be
Green.
green at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
but
seeing this pack helps, right?
Yeah.
Like,
It's going to have black and green, and there's a good chance it'll have like maybe a red splash at this point.
sure.
You can see the total number of colors or that he has of each card right now at the bottom right.
Yep.
So you can see he has 9 black ones. So
Oh, he likes the burning oil. This
Yeah.
is the second copy.
This is pretty much committing him, I think, at this point to red. If you're going to take the burning oil over some of these better green options, you got to be expecting to go at least one red hero.
Man, I can't believe he's passing up the Rejuvenator. The tree is such a nice card. It's a 7/7 body for 7, which is already good. But it also really mess up their combat math. Because they're thinking, oh, I'm going to get lethal on this lane.
Yeah.
You play it, you block something, you heal for 7. So it's an amazing draft card, and I'm very surprised to see him passing it up. But
Yeah, a very common card game mentality is like, your health is a resource to be leveraged. You want to use that resource aggressively, and stuff that is just like healing your tower might not be that good. But in Artifact, one of the contrasts is like, because it's such a race for the win mentality, you're winning one lane, they're winning another. The heal can always buy you one extra turn to just close the game out.
Heals are pretty rare, so when they do come, it's mostly at a surprise.
you can see that this particular pick is a very tough decision. He was flying through a lot of the other picks, but I think right now he's thinking, like, what color am I in?
Exactly.
Let's finalize it. And because once you hit next here, you're pretty much locking yourself in those particular colors.
That's exactly right. Like, that's one of the thing about drafts. Like, sometimes you will spend it's not about the cards in this case. It's about like the commitment. He's thinking about like the future and like how this deck is even forming in his head. If he's passing up the Rejuvenator, that means he's going for like a much more aggressive deck that he thinks maybe won't be able to get as much value out of Rejuvenator.
Yep.
Oh.
He's
Well,
there he
going
goes.
back. Going back for the tree, yeah.
Taking the safer play here. Divine Intervention,
That's
a
a great
great
card
black
for him.
card. Assassin's Apprentice fits his early game strategy. Those two would be great here.
Oh.
Not too much else good in this pack. You could go for the Stonehall Plate.
I like the Apprentice a lot, actually.
Yeah.
Yep.
Especially if you're going for early track kills. If you could play
And the
Apprentice
Divine.
There it
and
is.
just get that arrow down, yeah, you could. It's really nice.
Yeah, Divine Intervention just being like one of the best draft green cards. You're never unhappy to see that card. Gloody Vandal and Grunt does fit his aggro game plan. He's also
I
got
think
Defend
those
the
are
Weak.
great. Would you take that over a Grunt here?
I might take it over Grunt. It really comes down to kind of how he sees the deck forming with his game plan. I think Defend the Weak is like a higher value card than Grunt, but if he wants to go aggressive, then a Gloody Grunt is the play. He does have the makings for a pretty aggressive deck.
All right, if we have to score this deck out of 10 right now, let's not sugarcoat it. What's your score? Because to me, it's not looking great, honestly.
It's not looking great.
Yeah.
I might give it a 5 out of 10.
Yeah, it's.
I'm with you there too. I hope we're getting some good cards in the last 3 packs, but so far there's no real closers.
Sure.
I think
agree.
though that this is really the real skill of draft is like when you see the bad cards.
Yes.
And we're
how
gonna
you
see that.
navigate those bad cards.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ooh, a second Remusk. That's great.
Yeah. Well, we are all over the place right now. We got one here of every color.
Yeah.
I personally like Storm a lot, but I feel like the deck right now is not concentrated enough in black cards to really take advantage of his overload ability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'll pick it here.
Yeah, Sister Remusk is like the typical value pick here for the colors you're going. Both of those are high tier draft cards. Second Remusk is something you're very happy to see. He does have good card quality here.
Yep. Gonna go.
Not seeing good red cards though.
I gotta say, from personal experience, this is one of the toughest draft I've seen. We've seen the double hipfire in pack 1, but since then I feel like the packs has been extremely dry for him. There's nothing
Ooh.
amazing.
Second bounty hunter.
Think if he's going for that second bounty hunter, it's about time to pick up some high value items
Yeah,
and such.
I think
too.
he picks up any 25 gold item.
Yeah.
I feel like you know earlier when you said there's no real closing, when you see a second bounty hunter and you already have a payday in your pool, that is one of your win condition, as I feel. So
Totally.
Let's hope that he could pick up a Horn of the Alpha. APO Thesis Blade would be amazing as well.
That's
Yeah.
right. Oh,
Okay, why? Oh, that's a horn.
that is a horn. Oh, look at his
Iron
face.
Fog Gold Mine on the second one. That is so good for
Yes.
him.
This is a
good
That
pack.
is the
That,
dream
okay,
pack.
now
Yeah,
it's
that's a
turning around for him.
Oh.
5 out of 10 to what would we say now?
I
Maybe it's
mean,
like a-
I will say if he finds a second payday,
Yeah.
I mean that jumps up a whole point as
Payday's
well.
a common. Yeah. So.
Yeah, payday is a common, and a
true.
lot of people decline it because a lot of people don't have decks that can support it. He's open
Hipfire?
Revtel Investments.
Hipfire's a good find too.
Revtel Investments is a card that you can't really pick here, but if you add more paydays, it's
Yeah.
not necessarily a terrible
I
version
mean,
of
I
Gold
think
Mine draft.
Revtel Investment is the poor man gold mine.
Yes.
But it's still a gold mine,
It's
essentially,
the
right?
Yeah.
it's the very poor man's gold mine.
Look, when you're in this position, you can't really pick. You can't really,
I want the hipfire this time.
Yeah, I like
right?
Hipfire.
Yeah. If you had more paydays, I think Revtel Investments could be a consideration. But here you got to go Hipfire and then either DI, Darkseer, or possibly a Clear the Deck if you're still thinking about that Singleton Red Splash.
Yeah, do you think he would use the Mazzy over the Keef?
I think so for
Yeah.
sure. Mazzy is a great splash hero. She's survivable, which is what you look for in a splash hero. Splashes are vulnerable to the hero dying.
Sure.
You know, your opponent sees, oh, okay, you've got one red hero. I'm going to lock you out of your red, kill that hero. Mazzy's tanky, and her signature card can be played on any lane from that lane, which also counteracts the other downside of splashing.
Yep.
True.
I know we're pack 5 out of 5 right now, but there's only 3 heroes selected. There's a second bounty hunter there, but he's currently windwalked, so you can't see him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or is it Sturkin Walk or whatever the new name?
We'll just
for
say
this
he's
one?
invisible.
He's invisible right now. So.
So Lifecoach is kind of building the deck in his head. This is a really good tip for like draft players out there, which is basically, you know, start actually building what you're actually playing. Think about the ratios, because he's thinking about clear the deck, hip fire, and divine intervention, maybe Darkseer as well, honestly.
Yeah.
And you got to think like, okay, which colors do I kind of need more of to leverage my ratios? Because you want a pretty equal ratio of like heroes to colors, cards of that color for that hero.
You want about 8 card to
Yes.
whatever color hero you have. So if you have only 1 red hero, then about 8 red color cards. Yeah.
Typically. Doing the numbers. And again, this is kind of how draft comes down to. Like, there will be picks that just like, even though like it's not about the cards, it's about the colors and the commitments. Like, these cards aren't that big of a decision, but he has to decide like, okay, how are these colors like actually forming in my deck that's going to happen?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just think about the synergy, and you can see him kind of counting the number of each color he has right now too.
Yep. Doing that
Thinking real hard.
that Lifecoach thinking expression
Downloading the game.
that he's very famous for.
So to kind of update you guys, the players have about 30 minutes to
Yes.
draft and build.
Yes.
Normally, I don't think anybody ever like runs out of time. He's currently about 17 minutes in, or 13 minutes in.
Yes.
So he has 17 minutes left. So this is more than enough time for him to finish drafting a deck and building it.
Lifecoach is also notorious for using time as a resource. He goes by the nickname Rope Coach at times, and
Right.
has admitted that he will sometimes rope players just to kind of get in their heads and, you know, mess up their plays.
I gotta say, queuing into Lifecoach in kind of like friendly games is always both a very happy and sad
You can get a sandwich, you know. you can
expression at the
step
same
away.
time. It's like I'm playing against a very strong player, which is always good, and then I also know that I'm committed for the next 45 minutes, and it's just like rough time.
Thinking about the second divine intervention. So what do you guys like here? Because I like the second divine intervention. This is going to lock him into 2 green, but
Yeah.
at this point he's got kind of that density where I think he wouldn't be opposed to going 2 green, 2 black, 1 red.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. But would you also get the Darkseer here?
That's a tricky one. Darkseer is better than Farvran. Picking heroes early on in packs is generally not ill-advised per se, because if the hero is good enough, of course it's good enough, but it's a little worse than like finding it like halfway through the pack sometimes, because it does lock you out of heroes. Like if he picks that Darkseer, and this is what he's thinking about, maybe he sees like
Drow
an
Ranger.
Enchantress,
Yeah.
Drow,
Yeah.
Treant, and you can't pick that once you've committed to your hero for the pack.
Yeah, maybe what he's thinking now is, would he be okay with a Farvin in his deck instead of
Sure.
Darkseer?
I personally think that Darkseer is actually quite good on the splash, because if you ever mess up your hero deployment, you could put the Darkseer in there and use his surge ability to kind of correct your deployment a little bit. I don't think Lifecoach generally makes deployment mistakes as much.
Yeah.
So personally, Darkseer is really good for me, in this situation, but he's not thinking about it. I think if I was in Lifecoach's position, I would go Divine Intervention and the Hipfire.
Hipfire.
Yeah,
And those two just by far is the strongest cards in the pack.
I do like the Hipfire here. Darkseer notorious for having a pretty bad signature card. He's pretty acceptable in draft, and mobility is actually premier in draft.
Yeah.
Anything that offers mobility, lane mobility, he's going for the Darkseer. There it is.
Okay.
Nice.
And the third Vermusk Blessing. You are not unhappy
Automatically.
to see that.
Yeah.
Picks it, yeah.
Just being
It's a
able
solid
to
card.
keep a lane healthy and pushing.
Another big tip I would say about drafters as they're doing their drafts in Howling Mine is that be very aware of your win condition. Think
Yes.
about how your deck is capable of winning. And the way that I see Lifecoach's deck so far, I see picks up
Yeah.
Windfall Hammer. Not exactly like a premier amazing item, just good to have.
He's going to have a lot of gold to spare,
Correct.
apparently.
Yeah. So I see the way that Lifecoach's deck is going is that he has 2 ways to win. He will get a ton of gold, and he'll do the deck build here. So we'll probably hop out. We don't want to see all of Lifecoach's secret. So let's get the camera back on us. This is to make sure that Lifecoach's opponent doesn't know everything that's going through Lifecoach's mind. Did I read the paper? No. Okay. We are doing the deck building.
Yeah, we'll stay for the building process.
Oh,
I
cool.
think that there's a lot to be kind of like learned and talked about in this as
Okay.
well. So he's going to go for the ratios, and it's exactly like you said before, Lumi. You want like a 1-to-8 ratio.
Yeah.
So with 2 green, 1 red, and 2 black, you're looking for roughly 16 black cards, and you can see the number there above the deck list. 16 black cards, 16 green cards, and 8 red cards. That is an approximation, and I think it is typically the good players that will deviate from that a little bit more than people who are more rigid into it.
And they generally have a very solid reason to deviate from. Because
Exactly.
that's generally a good solid rule that you should just mostly follow. So earlier I was talking about win condition of the deck. I feel like there's 2 ways for them to win. You either go big with the items, your Wingfall Hammer as well as your Horn of the Alpha, and you just kind of overwhelm your opponent. The second way that I think this deck could win is that there's a lot of HP on these heroes, especially with the 3 Root Musk. You got the Divine Intervention. I feel like another way this deck could win, just kind of outlast them, grind them out. It's a very slow and painful way to win, but...
And you can see that Lifecoach has 11 creeps right now.
Yeah.
What would you say is like the average, or how many creeps you'd want to see in as a ratio to the other cards?
It kind of depends. You really are looking for a lot of proactive plays. This is actually one of the reasons why blue is largely considered to be the weakest draft color. Not because it's weak in general, but because it's a very reactive color, right? Draft very much favors proactive plays, and sometimes improvements can be kind of either reactive or proactive. Like an improvement that's proactive, like say home field advantage, kind of offers almost the same thing that a creep does. But typically you want to be very heavy on creeps.
Yeah, I personally want to be at least around 8 to 10 plus on creeps, because I think creeps is actually one of the more broken aspects of this game.
Yes.
Creeps, you play it, immediately it could attack. If it's an empty position, it could go face, right? And also creeps saves you when you're dying. You put it in front of a big hero. So
you can jump with it. In Hearthstone terms, just because of the way that Artifacts plays out as a game, every unit kind of has taunt, because you can put it in front of something that's going to attack, and that will just attack your creep now.
And taunt is cheat, as we learned. So
yes.
Okay, so we are 1 card away. I'm looking at only 6 red cards, right?
Yep, that is correct. He's got the 40 card deck here, 19 black, 6 red. Didn't end up picking a lot of great red cards. You do have something like the Rebel on red that you could play, but it's not really a high quality card. Going over his decisions at the end.
Yeah, he's looking at Mazzy. He might take him out. Nope.
Let's keep the Bow coming back in. There's no way you pick Heath the Bow over Mazzy, right? In terms of the 1-2-1 trade, because I think Heath is just the weaker hero here.
Yeah.
Yeah, you pretty much can't. He has, you know, his 2 bounties and Mazzy on the flop. One of the things we didn't explain yet is actually one of the principles of deck building in Artifact is you choose 3 heroes to deploy. You see Bounty Hunter, and Mazzy up at the top. Those are his flop heroes. He's got Magnus coming out on the turn, the round 2 deployment, and Darkseer is his river hero on the round 3 deployment. So you can see this reflects in his deck. He's got no green turn 1 plays, really. Rebel Decoy is a decent turn 1 play. Romisk Blessing is 3 mana, and it's great, but it's not something you play turn 1. So his turn 1 plays are going to be like in the black and red, and that's why he's flopping those heroes.
I think if you have 3 Rumusk, you could afford to play one of them early, especially if it allows your Bounty Hunter, for example, live
sometimes
and go for a trade. So
absolutely.
Yeah, it's really comes down to the situation.
Yeah, it looks like he wants to have those hard hitters first, since he probably wants to close out games around, say, mana 8 or like a mid game, right?
Yeah.
He's still pretty aggressive with 2 bounty hunters.
I mean, I feel like one of the way that this deck wins is you just go crazy with your items, and double bounty, you just have such a high chance of actually just sniping a hero with track bonus on top. So it's not uncommon for him to end the first turn with like 18 gold or something like that.
Yeah, Bounty Hunter is just a great flop hero. Like, sometimes you will just flop into an opponent's hero and just eat them alive with Janata.
Yeah.
Yep, he has that passive, extra 4 attack.
Sometimes.
He sometimes has that passive.
Sometimes has that passive.
Not just straight up have it all the time. That would be
that would be broken.
Do we want to talk about flop a bit, because we keep throwing the word around? Anyone want to
absolutely.
define what
Well,
flop is?
when the game starts, you have your 3 heroes spawn randomly, 1 for each lane, accompanied by 3 creeps, which are also just kind of chosen randomly. And your opponent does the same. So basically, unlike every other card game, the game of Artifact starts different every time. And that's something that actually makes it the most interesting. And we're joined